Hi, my name is Pat, and for the longest time, I've struggled with getting complex ideas out of my head, whether it's through speaking or writing things or creating things out of complex designs into a physical object, or even, I don't know, drawing a design. And I've got these three things that I want to share with you that help with getting unstuck when you get stuck, when you lack creativity, when you lack clear-mindedness to express yourself. So the first thing is like a toolkit for your mind. Imagine you get a bag of tools and a project, and you only get to use these tools. It's kind of constricting, but at the same time, if you had every tool available, a full workshop, all these things, your mind could go anywhere, and it goes kind of nowhere. So what this is like a template, a series of questions you could ask yourself, or frameworks to go through to create and inspire you to take the right steps, the correct steps. For example, when it comes to communication, there are things like frameworks that help you structure your idea communication in a certain way so that it has really good clarity. And same with same with building physical projects. You could have a certain amount of materials that you could only use that inspire you to create. And when you know the rules and what those rules are, you can know to play within them. And once you stick to those rules for long enough, you can then eventually deviate from the rules. Because every master, I feel like, knows what the correct steps are. They know the steps. They follow the steps every time. And sometimes, when they want to be a little more creative, they might deviate from one of the steps to change the outcome a little bit. But then they go back to following their steps. And I feel like if you have a certain amount of constrictions and idea generating frameworks, you will be so much better equipped to get your ideas out into the world. So there's this concept that I first discovered in one of my first couple of jobs where I used to work. When I went to university, I used to work in kitchens as a cook and a chef because they were great ways to make money in the evenings and on the weekends. And in one of those restaurants, a chef gave me a book to read, which was called Kitchen Confidential by Anthony Bourdain. And Anthony talks about this concept that had been introduced to him by his mentor, where he came up to where he was working and he said, clean the F up, because the representation of the workspace that you are working is a representation of what's going on inside of your head. And there is no time to be thinking about, what do I need to be doing? Do I start this? When there's, 30 tables waiting to order and waiting to get their food. So having a space, clean area, and not only space, clean area, but also having all these prepped ingredients, your bottles filled up, your materials ready. This is called mise en place. You might have heard about this before. And it is a great way that I've discovered to get a spark of inspiration if I'm feeling uninspired. Because the moment you start cleaning up and kind of tidying your workspace, it is like having a shower for the mind. You get brilliant new ideas come into your head, and you get re-inspired very quickly. It's such a great process. Another way I've heard this referred to is always be knolling, and always be tidying up your workspace, always be making things even, in line with each other, making things right. So just, if you need some inspiration, remember mise en place and always be knolling. And just as a side note, at the end of my workday, let me show you, we had a bunch of sawdust on the ground, a bunch of stuff from the wood, and everything here is ready to go for tomorrow. So when you come in the morning, you're not like, oh fuck, all this mess here. You come in and you're like, okay, I'm good to go. I'm gonna start here. There, my tools are right there. I can start using them. I can grab my ladder and just go. You don't have to climb over the top of your pile to start your work. And I've had this before where I had to join a work crew that was there before me, and they were literally covered by rubble. And I spent, I kid you not, 2 days digging myself out and organizing myself. And the job ended up being 3 times longer than it should have been because there wasn't a tidy system in place. So it's unbelievably productive to maintain a clean workstation if you are making things. This final idea is the bane of my existence. I've struggled with it so bloody much. It's incredible. But what it actually unlocks is infinite potential to get so much stuff done. I used to go towards the internet to gather motivation to get stuff done. Sometimes I would get started on something, but I would struggle with getting started at all, and I would struggle with keeping going, especially on those days where I didn't have much energy to do the thing that was important to me. And instead of going to motivation to the internet, where you watch a YouTube video for motivation, which is what I did all the time, and then you go to that YouTube video, and then you get distracted because then you find another thing to click on, then you find another thing to click on, and then you realize 2 hours later that well, I guess I'm not getting much work done today. So instead of that, why don't you just go to an art gallery for inspiration? It's so much better if you actually need the inspiration. But you might actually know what it is now. But the rule is create before consuming. It's a game changer, I'm telling you. The rule create before consuming avoids your brain from going into a cycle where it's a self-repeating cycle where you consume content, and then that leads to more content consumption, and that leads to more content consumption, and it doesn't get you anywhere. Because what the internet has gotten good at is it's gotten good at spiking dopamine, and dopamine is a drug of more. So when you get a hit of dopamine, you want more dopamine. And so after this video, click off and go and do what's important to you. Create before consuming. Screw the email and go and look at some art in an art gallery if you want to. So those are the 3 things that help me with getting ideas out of my head. Let me go over them for you once again. Number 1, have prompts and frameworks so you can follow a bunch of questions to get ideas out of your head and limit the possibilities that are out there. Number 2, mise en place and always be knolling. And number 3, create before consuming. Actually work on what is important. Okay, that's it. Bye.